Thank you, Ralph.
I switched it. It looks way worse when a guy has a squeaky chair.
Okay, it's 6:45. I'll call the revenue neutral rate meeting to order. In front of you got an agenda. If we can adopt the agenda real quick.
So moved.
Second, all in favor? 3.0 revenue neutral rate hearing.
As per state statute, you have to approve prior to the budget going above what is considered revenue neutral. Talked about that previous meetings. We've built you a budget that is not revenue neutral. Of course, capital outlay with our increase in assessed valuation would not be revenue neutral if we keep it to our 8. And then we got a budget that will be in front of you in the next meeting that tries to maintain the supplemental general with this close to the same mill levy. But this meeting, you have to prove that you are going to exceed the revenue neutral rate as a board before moving to the actual budget meeting.
That's the next thing to approve. On the agenda there. You'll approve item.
Yeah, 4.0 approved revenue neutral rate.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor? All opposed? All in favor? Second, please.
Second.
All in favor? Okay. Yeah.
One more
I got a mark here.
pizza. 3 pieces left. I think he's
got all
fine.
the signing we need.
He went to Zach today. And he's just gonna get shot to help swelling go down. But I think he'll be fine. His was just a bruise on the side of his kneecap.
It's not dislocated or nothing.
I don't think so. He said it just swollen a little bit. It was hurting him during the game, but he got a brace on.
It's fine.
He was back. He was 80, 90%.
I guess you had to walk.
So I don't think any of them other ones will be back.
I said, it's still raining. Well, it should be. You're getting wet.
No, I don't think. I think Diego dislocated a shoulder. I think Derek tore his MCL is what they
Should have
thought.
run faster. One of the two that had a concussion.
And then I assume they both. I didn't know they were both concussion. I thought
Oh, Zach's ribs.
I thought it was Zach's arm because he when they started messing with his head, I was surprised because when he came off,
Distributor
he was
has
old,
it.
he was
Yeah.
like this.
I can't make it.
I thought it was like something in his arm. I had no clue it had anything to do with his head.
Has it, Eagle had that shoulder separation before?
It was, Sean Starr was there.
Derek
He, I
Haas.
think, he told me after the game, it was his other one last year.
Oh, it's the other one.
Whichever it was one last year, it's the other one.
Of course.
This time the shoulder hadn't been separated.
Is that a season-ending deal?
Very close.
I assume so.
Zach
Wow.
Brown glided down the helmet.
It was last year for him. He got that.
Both of them?
He got that against Victoria. He got that game 3, and it was his
And
year
they were
last
out,
year.
I mean, it's full-fledged, they were out.
I don't think Kathy's ever had such an exciting game for her ambulance going back and forth.
Yeah, my comment was last time the ambulance left was, I'm not real sure I want this game to start until the ambulance comes back.
You can't do that, can you?
Well, we can because we have a certified trainer and EMT on the sidelines.
Okay.
If Case wasn't there, we could not. Yeah, they took off the first time with the ambulance, like they had to have, they didn't have enough people, so Dan drove the ambulance for them. And I texted Dan and said, you need to bring the ambulance back for the second round.
So both those boys had concussions.
What's the protocol on that? They have to get cleared?
Yeah, there's a whole process they have to go through.
I see.
There was no neck injury then. It was just a
I
concussion.
don't think so. It's just concussion.
All right, it is 6:50. We'll go into the budget hearing. You have an agenda in front of you.
Move it out.
Second,
All in favor? Cannot find my agenda here. I had it and it just vanished. Screen. Okay. Budget hearing 3.0, 3.1. Second review of the state assessment data.
You have the state assessment data in there. We went over it back in May. We also went over the building needs assessments back in May. We can spend a lot of time doing that if you'd like to do that. Or if you just want to ask me questions, we can do that, but you've got access to that. I did put both those sets of documents. There's multiple state assessment documents in both the high school and the elementary building needs assessments in the packet for your review. Basically between that and discussions with you guys the last couple months, Susan and I, mostly Susie, sat down and put in numbers to try to get us about the same mill rate on the supplemental general as last year. And then you've got that budget in front of you. It's both in your packet, and I made you a copy of the one sheet. Give you an idea kind of where all that is.
The handwritten numbers are the increases due to valuation increase.
But yeah, so the 38,000 is basically the increase based off of assessed valuation growth and keeping the mill levy about the same. The growth in the general fund is a combination of new funds and then just some carryover money that's going to be available to us. Some increases in some federal funds probably, and at-risk funds and those type of things.
That 143, that's not a dollar.
Yeah, it's 143,000. And again, that number is not 100% accurate. That's based off of what's on paper right there. It'll be less than that once we go through the audit and everything. And because we always, when we put in our numbers for the budget, we always aim high. That way we don't have to come back and redo the budget and reapprove it. If our audit numbers come in lower, we're fine. If they come in higher, if you want that money, you've got to redo the budget.
would make a motion to approve the 23-24 budget as submitted.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second to approve the 23-24 budget as presented. All in favor? All opposed? To adjourn.
Second.
All in favor?
That's when you go home. Yeah.
I've adjourned twice. I ought to be able to leave.
So wander around there.
Yeah, I got 5 minutes. I stayed in the chair. I'm going to the sure view.
Hey Derek, that list of what you asked me earlier. I think I may have had contact with all of those kids this summer, but a good percentage of them for sure.
It really stood out because I'm through, I finished up 4th grade before I came over here. So that I'm in kindergarten through 4th grade. Third grade class, just a long list of them, that, especially on the reading, either maintain their score from
We
this
should
grade.
have plugs in.
or something.
Maybe
Yeah,
put on
And
our,
none of the other
if we had an
classes
updated
had- I mean, there's kids in there.
I know.
yeah, we
That's-
probably
I
need
know.
to screen
I
work
know.
this.
It's just-
we need one that's got the little pop-up screen, so we gotta do this.
You know,
Yeah,
and I
it's
don't
always
know every
charged.
kid. I can guess for
It's
kids
our
what class they're in. I got to thinking, I was like, well, I bet I probably saw
I know
a
they're different.
bigger percentage of that class.
The
than I did in
tablets
class
were
this
bad when
summer.
we had those.
So,
Yeah.
Yeah, I was looking at that list. I may have had contact with all of them,
I'll
but
get used to it.
a very, very
Any
large
amount.
percentage, that's for sure.
Yeah.
Oh,
That's exciting.
Yeah.
Now we gotta figure out how to get the rest to do it.
Well, and the other thing I was thinking about, that's that age that
When is it?
When is the-
they're getting old enough.
October the 14th.
The parents are more apt to let them go to
Is
the
Robert
library,
in
bike
it?
to the library.
Yep, him and his nephew
Come to the
both.
programs.
Told me
they
he
can
was gonna
ride
do
their
Yep,
bikes
nope,
there,
they've
they
already
can
got
walk
their
there,
bed
that
and
kind of thing.
breakfast
So
or
that's kind of
Airbnb's
that
already
sweet spot
lined
age that
up, but
hit
him and
where
his
I
nephew are
will
coming.
get a
They're
large
gonna-
percentage of
they
them,
were
but
gonna
I
do
think
it
I may have had
together, now
contact
they're
with all
done
those kids this
So,
summer, but
I think we
a
got
good percentage of them, if not all of them.
16 or 18 people have.
But I think
so
that's
far.
something we can say, hey.
Yeah, it's all gonna be up around the
here's the
S and
facts,
W.
here's the data that backs it up.
Yeah,
You guys see what it
they're
covers,
blocking
this
off all the
makes
streets there.
Even
so
one day a week, if you'll. go
Yeah,
spend
Yeah,
an
it's
hour,
kinda-
whatever it
It
is.
keeps rolling to like
Well, I
every
keep,
week, it gets
that's
a
the
little
thing
bigger,
that I
a
keep
little
trying to
bit
tell
every.
parents, is like,
People are calling along the
as long
traps
as your
of the
kids
city.
follow the rules
We'd
in the
like to
library,
do
I'm gonna
this.
make sure that they do when they're in
We'll
here.
figure out a way to
I don't
get you in there and do it.
think it's not
It's
They're
really
welcome to
kind
the
of
library. They can
snowballed
walk
on
there after
it more than
school. They
they
can be
thought,
there in the summer with that. I mean, send them to the library, please. But
Absolutely.
I don't know, it's hard to get them. I think some of them are still stuck in that like old school librarian. It was like shh when they came in and all that kind of stuff. And so I don't know, but it's kind of cool though to see that there's some statistics that back up what.
Mhm.
So, good.
I'll have to, when I get that done, I might have to sit down with you and just kind of go through the ones that we saw as stable or grew a little bit and see.
Yeah, because I can track. Yeah, I mean, I can look up statistics on them from my end.
She's oozing mischief.
Uh-huh.
Oh, yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah.
100% firm.
These two files on the co-op high school softball thing, are they the same? We have
Yeah,
two
one's a
files
one, one's a Word document, one's a PDF.
Oh,
Because
okay,
sometimes those Word documents don't open up very well.
okay.
So I wanted to save
It's
it
like
as
they look the
PDF.
same,
Yeah.
but okay.
All right, it is 7 o'clock. We'll call the regular September meeting to order. In front of you have an updated agenda.
Move to approve.
Second.
All in favor? Four consensus items. Take a minute to go over the consensus items. You have a question, please ask.
Susie, on the board meeting minutes for August 14th, I was there. And I'm not there. Okay, because later on I mentioned, so I know I was there. I'll fix it. Sorry, but that's okay.
Just how it works. They list me as here, but I'm never.
You're never really here. Oh, and I was at the other one too, the August 22nd one.
Geez, I just.
Well, I think on the 14th one, you just listed Jason Ratliff twice, so.
And I was just here once.
And he was just
Pretty
here
sure.
once.
I really don't care.
That's okay.
It makes connection how our football field water bill was the same as our electric bill for both buildings, so
I hadn't even gotten to that.
combined.
That's a lot better than it was last year this time.
That's true. That's.
Make a motion to approve the consensus items as amended.
Second.
Have a motion to approve or a motion for the amended consensus items. All in favor? All opposed? 5.0 special education. Russell?
I have no report.
5.12 Tom?
I don't have a report.
Let's roll into Mr. Flax.
Just a few things here kind of go through. As of today or whatever, count day coming up here a week from Wednesday, the 20th, where we'll do an official kid count. We have 86 kids in the high school, which is down 8 from September 20th of last year, and 33 kids in the junior high. Breakdown by grade, you have 19 seniors, 28 juniors, 27 sophomores, 12 freshmen, 13 eighth grade, and 27th grade. What numbers are at, of course. That's, you know, what we'll submit, obviously, on the 20th, unless we have something changes. Somebody on there, or in the last 10 days before that. But I give you a little bit of the KLN update, the Kansas Learning Network. It's been not quite a year when we were notified there of our target assisted support that we were, I guess, identified for. And we spent last semester and the spring semester kind of learning and going through the Kansas Learning Network to address that. If you remember, the targeted area is the results of the Hispanic population. We have enough that makes it a subgroup, and where they had been scoring at, that subgroup is equal to the lowest 5% in the state. So that's what put us on target area support. So basically, not quite a year into it, I just kind of decided to look at the data from 2022, which was, I guess, the resulting data that put us in that category, to how we did in 2023. And I realized that was part of your budget hearing you just had. There was a review of the assessments, but that doesn't break down the demographics, the special ed group. It doesn't break down the whites, the Hispanics, and stuff like that. So in 2022, we had 81%, or 9 out of our 11 Hispanics that took the state assessments were in level 1 and 22. And 23, we improved that. We dropped that down to 50%. So 9 out of the 18. We actually had 7 more Hispanics in the testing pool in 23. So basically what that is, we increased level 2 by 5. We increased level 3 by 2. We went from 1 to 6 and 1 to 3, from 22 to 23 in the math. In the ELA, again, we had that same testing totals of 11 and 22 and 18. We had, out of those 11, 8 were in level 1 and 22 in ELA. That's down to 4. So we increased our level 2 from 2 to 8, and from level 3 we went from 1 to 6. Does not get us out of the target area support, because it's a 2-year process, but it's the right step. And so I'll commend tomorrow morning the teachers on doing this. I'd say this was, last spring was the first year I think we have ever broke down our population. Put it bluntly, it kind of angers me that we had to break it down between whites and Hispanics. Why are we trying to create divide? I have no idea, but that's what put us in that target area support. So last spring was the first year we obviously we looked at the data in that format, but I'm happy to, it's a 1-year gain. Hopefully we can show that again this next spring with gain, and we'll exit that program the following a year from now. So it's process itself is pretty much all done in-house. I have my building leadership team that I meet with. The building leadership team, we try to obviously work with the remaining staff on areas to address. We'll have a consultant from Southwest Plains that will come out and work with me here, actually later this month, and then we'll work with our building leadership team also to, I guess, keep taking steps of gains. So that's what, just to give you a little bit of update from where we're at there on that KLN process there. I guess this feeds right into that. What were a couple of things that we're really trying to, we structured our, we call it eagle hour time when we went from, that extra period. What we're trying to do some of this, we really try to structure a lot of that time for what we call intervention or / enrichment time and ELA and math. And we've actually upped that a little bit more even this year. We're going to do 2 days of that. I designate 1 day strictly for math, one day, and we're not just stopping with our testing population. We're going all the way through 12th grade. And I know our seniors aren't happy with it. Right? They want to coast. But out of those 19 seniors, only 2 of them are taking a math class. And I think that's just because they got their math credits for graduation out of the way. They're not taking a math class. And I, I guess maybe this is my way of just playing hardball with them, but taking a year off math before they go on to something. I'm not saying college, they go on to something. Secondary, I think is not good. So we'll at least get them a day of math, 30 minutes of math a week is what it's going to come down to. And we're using this program that's been recommended highly. In fact, KSTE is paying for it. It's IXL math. It's not new, but it's research based, proven to help efficiencies. And we're working the kinks out of it. I thought I had everything set up for those teachers there a week ago Friday. Lost her failure. Of course, half the kids could get logged in. Anyway, so we're just still getting into it. We're gonna typically Friday is gonna be our math day, but actually tomorrow on Tuesday we're gonna do a little bit extra. And football or reading and math days. Usually Tuesdays and Fridays will be our intervention days for that reason. But anyway, so there's that. Also this week is, and I bring it up because we have a presenter coming Wednesday. It's Suicide Prevention Week. Say the state, probably the nation. I know Danielle's school nurse is doing an excellent job of promoting this. We have I'm excited about a guest speaker coming to visit with our high school. It's going to be pretty heavy. Daniel Parker is his name. He's with the Jones Project. I've sent some information out to all of our parents about it. I put it on social media. I can get you information for it if you want to see it. He's a former high school wrestling coach here in the state of Kansas. He's going to talk about his own mental health struggles and the reviews on him are very, very high. I'm excited about having that. I invite you. I know it's 10 o'clock Wednesday morning. It's a tough time to come, but I'm inviting. I mean, it's open to patrons, parents. Obviously, the high school kids will be there. Dayton High School's will come over. I invited their area schools. They're ones that are able to make it work their schedule. They're going to come over. I know lacrosse. I think they're actually having him out at another time. They already scheduled it. But like I said, 10 o'clock in the morning. I know it's not an ideal time for working adults and stuff to be there, but I welcome you to come. Spot for you to sit down and watch. Listen to the presentation. I have questions.
Okay, Mr. Reinhardt.
Handful of things tonight. They completed the boiler repairs on the elementary school this afternoon. They will start the repairs on the high school boiler tomorrow. When they came out originally to work on the elementary school boiler, we've got a valve that is stuck, so they couldn't pressure test it. So they did that today. And then the pipes that they ordered for the high school boiler were the wrong size, so they had to get new pipes and they showed up with them today, so hopefully by the end of the week, the boilers are repaired. And hopefully. Sent you an email here a while back. KASB is having their legislative listening tour Wednesday, September 27th in Pratt from 11:30 to 1 o'clock. KSAB is your guys' organization as a board. They represent you. And what they're doing at this meeting is to get input from you as far as what you want their legislative platform to be for this upcoming legislative session. Do any of you want to go? Okay. Bike Across Kansas is considering Ness as a potential stop for this upcoming summer. The last time they came through town was when we were in the middle of construction at the high school, at the science classrooms and everything. So we had the whole building shut down. Need a little bit of feedback from you. They're asking for access to the gym, locker rooms, parking lot, and the yard for tents. Some people want to sleep inside in the air conditioning, others want to sleep in tents, and others have their RVs. This would be, the possible date would be June 9th. That is a Sunday. They would like it open from about 10 o'clock Sunday morning through about 11 o'clock Monday morning. We haven't done this since I've been here, so I don't know 100% for sure what we've done in the past as far as giving them access, charging them. Their letter does say that they are willing to pay a reasonable fee. My concern, especially with it being a Sunday, is I don't have anybody on staff. So we need to have someone to open up the door and lock things. And I'd feel a lot more comfortable having a custodian or somebody there at least for a good portion of that time. Maybe I wouldn't necessarily need somebody overnight, but from 10 o'clock in the morning until 8 o'clock in the evening or something like that. And that would be money we're paying that person to do that.
I don't ever remember doing that.
Does Tom remember
I
what
do.
we did when?
Yeah, I do. I remember a lot of them camped out in the gym, on the stage in the auditorium, even just in the chairs in the auditorium. Those were cool areas. I remember, and I say this, I won't remember the exact group, but I want to say it was like the Boy Scouts or somebody like that. Set up like their trailer with their concessions and had a heck of a.
Mhm. I was gonna
like a
say,
breakfast burrito.
I remember too, and
Biscuits and gravy type.
different
that morning that-
different things in town had different things set up.
It was good that way. They will, I mean, I say that they'll utilize the whole building. I mean, from the fax room, that was back in the time when we had a washer and dryer in the fax room. We didn't have the industrial one in the boiler room, but I think there was leaving a little bit of laundry that some of them tried to, or use and stuff like that. So we still may have had the laundromat downtown. I don't remember if that was still going with the old.
Probably.
Kind of,
was.
Yeah.
been a while ago.
Do you remember
where
what
the
the
State Farm
school,
office is at now? That was a laundromat, but I don't.
do you remember anything as far as how the school charged or what they
Oh, yes.
charged or?
I don't have it.
That was in like
The school didn't charge anything.
I don't know that.
We did.
They were, man, good people and stuff. I remember having a conversation with several of them. Swap through and make sure they. Wi-Fi, I remember that.
How many people
Or we
is it?
opened our password up or whatever. Or
I have no idea.
password from it.
That's a
Man,
big
It's a very big deal.
So
Yeah, I'd
the
say
time
hundreds.
that they did it, that when my kids were in school, it was close to 250
Yeah.
people. And they, like I said, some of them brought trailers to sleep in, or they pitched tents out on the softball field or just anywhere in the back area. We had the gym, the locker rooms. I didn't remember the auditorium being used, but maybe it was.
Yeah.
I know it was the gym, the locker room, and I can't remember which group did it, but somebody did a supper out of the cafeteria, some group in town, and then there was,
I don't
somebody had
remember
an
the
ice
cafeteria.
cream
I
stand,
remember-
somebody had a lemonade stand. I mean, several places in several 4-H,
As I said,
Girl
the
Scouts,
4-H
Boy
has already been
Scouts.
asked about it.
they made quite a bit of money off of having that here.
And plus the normal restaurant. business.
Yeah. I don't have a problem with it, and if you wanna like accept donations, because if we don't charge them and then just say donate to the school. But if there's parts of the building that we don't want them in, just lock those.
Well, and that, we
rooms.
can lock it. I'm
Yeah.
not necessarily so worried about them destroying things, because I think, like I said, this is a big deal, and I think
Yeah, it
they've
is.
done this long enough. They're not destroying anything.
Yeah.
I'm just more worried about,
A toilet.
the AC is gonna be running, so that's not gonna cost us more money. The lights aren't gonna cost as much anything. We may have $200 in paying somebody kind of being around or something like that. It's not a lot of money. I just didn't want to tell them yes, not charge them, and then, not have a conversation with you guys. If you're fine with going with it, and, I think at some level it's a boon to the economy, to local economy, local businesses for that one day with those people coming through. So if we're okay with that, then I'll reach out to them and let them know that we're good to go. They have filled out the facilities use form for me and everything, so they've done the paperwork. But if consensus is just do it, then we'll figure it out.
I think they ought to be charged something. I
I
mean,
think you'd get more with a donation bucket, like Judy said, than you would by. I almost bet you bring in more that way. Because I think that as a group collectively, they want a good reputation so that communities will open their facilities. And I think that they want to support local, whenever they're in that town. And I think you'd almost be better off. Just saying, hey, we're welcome here. If you want to offer a free load,
Mhm.
here's a donation bucket if you want to put something in it for the use of our facilities.
And maybe we're better off doing asking any of the sports teams, coaches, and you help out and just keep an eye on things and set up a donation bucket, and your donations go to that athletic program, whatever program wants to help. And
That's a good idea.
instead of-
No, that's a good
Yeah.
idea. That way you got more eyes out there than just one custodian.
We have a little bit of an issue with the softball fence. When they put all that in, they put holes in the ground to put pipes in and put a snow fence for the outfield fence for the softball field. With the heat and drought the last couple of years, the pipe and the caps on them were starting to show themselves. So we've got some issues with safety when they're practicing football and stuff like that. I hate to put in the time and effort to go in and try to figure out how to cut that out and make it work the way it is, especially with us probably having to replace the snow fence the way and everything. I got to looking, we could do something similar to this. This would be kind of like the fences you see around construction sites. My thought is if we buy 40 of these, that'll be more than enough for the softball field. It's something that can be used in other parts of the school where we need to block something off. Big example right now is if I had some of these, I'd put them around back there where the fish pond used to be. So we keep the kids out of the mud and dragging the mud inside during that time. It can be something that community members can rent or borrow from us. We can recoup some of that money. Softball's got about $15,000 in their account still from what they've raised to get the program started. This would be right around $6,000. It would give us something that I think is a pretty quality product. But like I said, it'd be something we could use more than just outfield softball fence. And something that, if softball doesn't make a team this year, it's still something that can be used. It doesn't have to be just that outfield softball fence, but it gives us something a little more stable and sturdy than a snow fence out there. Any issues, concerns with that?
6 foot tall.
Be 6 foot tall and 10 foot long sections. They lock together, not just on the base there, like in the picture, but they come with clamps. So you put a couple clamps, connect both sides, and
that be taking down the existing fence?
the outfield fence that is permanent stays. when we do softball, we've got a snow fence that we erect out there.
Okay.
And it probably, the orange part, the actual snow fence itself needs to be replaced. So you're putting money into it, and just something that's gonna get thrown away and torn up over time. This is something that can store a little bit easier, nicer. And like I said, I think it's something that, if nothing else, softball could probably recoup some of that money by letting community members use it for different events.
Where would it be stored most of the time?
We'd have a rack that it goes on, and we'd store it out there by the grandstands if it's not being used.
By
You probably could actually have even our ag shop build a trailer, like a panel
Mhm.
trailer that people use for panels that you could sit them on.
Make it nice and easy. Yep.
So for instance, if during Old Settlers, somebody wanted to create a fence around an area, then then they could rent them,
Mhm.
as you said.
Yep.
Then I assume that rent goes back to the softball fund.
That's where
if they
I'd
pay
start.
for it.
That's where I'd start until at least that $6,000 is recouped, and then we can kind of go from there.
What would we do with the stuff that's in the ground now?
We've got to get it out of there.
As I say,
I
do we
mean,
have to
It's
go
gonna-
down and cut it
Yeah,
out so
we're
that
gonna
nobody
have
gets
to cut
hurt?
it out that way, because several of them come up enough that it's,
Is it metal pipes?
they put PVC in the ground and then put a metal cap over it. That way they could find the metal cap with a metal detector.
Right.
You know, so I think what we can do is we pull the caps off, get a rotary tool, reach down deep enough, cut it
How
off.
deep are they? You got any idea?
They're deep. I want to say they're a whole 36 inches, because they used mud vac to put those in. I mean, you could, with the right equipment, probably pull the pipe completely out of the ground without tearing up a whole lot of stuff. It'd take,
Gosh, I like one of them 55-gallon drum lifters and cam over deal, like a fence
Mhm.
stretcher that you hook on the lip. That would lift and pull it straight up.
that might pull them out. Wes and I've talked about it a little bit. We've got a couple ideas. He doesn't think we could probably just pull them out, because he thinks they're a full 36 inches in the ground.
Cut back, I wouldn't dig them out.
Well, it can make a heck of a mess. We're okay with doing something along those lines, though.
I'm good with it.
I'm okay with it.
I'm okay.
We are starting curriculum review for 9th through 12th grade math books. That was supposed to be done when we did the iReady math for K-8. That's when Bruce and Bill were still here. Bruce was leaving that year. Bill left the next year. They didn't do it. And that's fine. Now we've got 2 math teachers. I'm going to have them go through that process. I know we've got, especially our geometry books are in really bad shape and they're old. So I've started getting supplies, samples for them to start going through. So we're working on that. So probably in May, we'll come to you with new books for 9th through 12th grade math classes. Elementary school roof, with the rain over the weekend, the last couple of days, we still have old leaks and we're experiencing some new leaks. So just be aware. We're gonna try some things to patch some stuff and stop some of the leaks, but we definitely have some leak issues in the elementary school roof. And the last thing I have is daycare. I don't think we ever solved the problem in daycare, but we are struggling with daycare again. We have one current teacher that I know can't find daycare. Is for sure what she's going to do. We've got others who are struggling. Aaron King reached out to me today. They have an idea at the hospital, so I'm going to meet with him on Wednesday and talk to him and see what they're kind of thinking. I know that the county commissioners and the health department are having some conversations. I don't know if they're involved with the hospital conversation or not. But we're definitely struggling with daycare, so we'll see what the hospital has as far as an idea, and we'll let you guys know.
Any questions for Mr. Reinhardt?
With you, oh no, sorry, nothing. It's coming up later.
Easy,
No question.
easy.
We are down from September 20th, K6, I believe we're down 3 kids. So we're pretty stable.
All right, moving on, 5.31. Does the board subcommittee have anything to report?
So we met with them on Friday.
Yes.
Yes. And to jump off what Derek said, the very first topic that came up for discussion was daycare.
Then it came up again. And again.
Yeah, which it was more elementary teachers, which I think is a younger group as a whole that were at the meeting, but I mean, I know the one is saying that she may not be able to come back because she hasn't been able to find anything, so. And I did do some asking about that. And from what I've got, that those conversations seem to be stalled and not really moving anywhere.
My fear is, I don't think we have a facility in the community that would act as a true daycare center. And then you don't have enough money to pay somebody to sit down and run it the way it needs to be run. And then you don't have enough people to staff it to begin with. We can't get custodians and cooks and paras and those type of things. And that's the type of people you're talking about coming in to run these programs. You know, you need somebody with an early childhood associates or degree like that to run the program. I think you've got some people in town that would do that, but then they're closing down their home-based daycare to do that. So you need a big enough facility with enough staffing to not only accommodate what you're losing out of that home-based daycare, you need enough staff and space to accommodate who doesn't have daycare also. It's a problem. And I don't know what the answer is.
We've battled this for what, 15 years at least. Everything just kind of, nothing ever works out. I mean, I thought the state was going to relax some of the requirements for the personnel.
There was conversations, but I don't think they actually changed any of the laws.
Well, if you've got an invitation to visit with the hospital, maybe there's some kind of a cooperative agreement we could come up with them. Anytime you secure a spot, though, you keep somebody else out, is a problem. And we're both taxpayer funded places. But maybe it'd be something that we could, if you come up with some ideas, maybe it'd be something they could expand their daycare. I mean, that's the answer, is expansion. And if they expanded theirs and we kind of helped, then maybe we don't have to have two people running two facilities. Maybe, maybe one person can run the larger facility. So I assume that maybe all that stuff could be on your line.
Yeah, and I'm guessing that might be kind of where it's going. You know, when the hospital started theirs, we had this conversation.
It's going to cost us a
And
fortune.
it was, they're wanting a lot of money from us to get it going. Now, they may have done it long enough now to back off on that. Essentially, what they wanted out of us is they wanted us to pay the full, what they would get in rental dollars out of those duplexes. And I think it would have been in excess of $20,000 a year for us to say, well, there's a daycare and any of our staff that needed daycare would have access to it. And then that staff would have to pay for their spot on top of that, on top of what we paid. So, I mean, it was a chunk of money.
Well, now that they've rented for a while, they have real numbers of what it's been bringing in. So maybe that can be adjusted.
And that's kind of what I'm hoping, is something along those lines and see what we can get going. I still think the biggest problem is going to be staffing it. I just,
Are there very many schools of our size in this part of the state that have school ran daycares?
that's a good question. I don't know the answer to it. I know that this particular question comes up probably 2 or 3 times a year on my SUPS listserv. What are other people doing? Who has started a school-based daycare program?
It's my understanding that Western Plains has done something this past too. Is that correct?
Wait, is it actual Western Plains or did they combine with the hospital?
They're two separate.
Okay,
So they have one.
We were informed that Ellenwood has one too.
do they? Okay.
That's what we were told by a teacher.
Is it Ellenwood?
I believe it was Ellenwood. We had a teacher that said they went to that was a draw to Ellenwood for this teacher, that they had daycare available for them.
I know Ransom got some people from Waukee.
You know, when we first started having those conversations, I don't think it was really anything I really wanted to talk about that much because I didn't think it was necessary. But I think when the teachers keep bringing it up to us and we're losing staff because of it, maybe you have to start looking at it seriously. I mean, I don't know if it's something we could ever do. Maybe the hospital, maybe that's the answer, but
Is there such a thing as having a person for each hour the school's open there? One of our students is a work study,
That's what I was wondering.
so that you could, because we have our pathways, so that would create a path, a spot to a pathway.
There's some possibilities. My concern is I don't want to get into the business of forcing a kid to go do that.
I think too,
don't-
you run into a lot of, well, they have an activity this way. I don't think they would be reliable
That's true.
Mhm.
because, oh, they have or they're sick this day or, they have a funeral this day or whatever. I don't think that you can rely on a student to be there to really even pitch in with that. Not that it's not something that if we had it, that they couldn't explore career wise, but I don't think you can necessarily depend on them to fill, staff type positions with it.
You say, I believe one of the hospital's employees in their daycare program did that exact thing last year. Right? She had an hour, her work study hour, she spent over there. And then that turned into a full-time job for her. And we could have a handful of kids who could possibly do that. I just don't know. There's a lot of guarantees that would not be met because of different things going on in kids' lives. And
I think you'd risk having to get substitute teachers because your daycare wouldn't be staffed and you'd put yourself in a sticky situation real easy with that kind of thing.
so as a school, we don't have a facility to do it. Using an empty classroom, the state would shut us down. What we'd have to do to that classroom would be cost prohibitive. We would have to turn one of the bathrooms into just being used for the daycare. Nobody else could use it. There's a lot of rules and regulations when it comes to a daycare center versus having daycare in your home that makes it pretty difficult.
And, Jason, I kind of touched on that with them, but I don't know that I did the topic justice because I didn't know the ins and outs of why it was more difficult for us. We just kept telling them that it is. But I think when you're desperate to find some place that you feel like your children are safe at so that you can come back to work, it's a tough position to be in. And I don't know otherwise out of that meeting what, that was really the big topic of discussion.
There was discussion on lack of substitutes.
Yes.
I guess the comment was made that the substitute list is that big, but there's a hard time getting them there. Comment was made to maybe, and maybe you do, maybe put something in the paper of that we're looking for some and the requirements to be one.
As I say, he's put it in the paper that they're wanting substitutes.
I think
so
maybe
we
like
can-
Jason said though, like outline, like this is exactly what it would take.
Because like
to be.
I thought you had to have a 4-year degree to be a sub, but now it's a 2-year. Or is it so many hours?
So many hours, you don't have an extra degree, and you can actually get an emergency license. It just, there's several different levels of a sub license. So you can get an emergency license, which allows you so many days. You can get an actual sub license, which allows you to substitute every day. during the school year. So there's some different levels in there as far as what you're able to do depending on your level of education.
I wonder if you put that in the paper, if you shouldn't list those things, that way somebody may know that they would qualify. If they were like me and thinking that you had to be more qualified. There was also a comment brought up about the emergency sub. It's $100 a year to qualify for an emergency sub. Is there a way that we could, I mean, you know better than I do. The comment was made to reimburse that person so much. So if they subbed a number of times, that would be over and above their pay that covered their emergency license. I think it's $100 a year to go get fingerprinted.
Well, you've got it fingerprinted and then there's a license fee. I don't think it's $100. It's getting more and more expensive.
60.
$60 or $65 right now.
That was table talk too.
No, and I know there's some districts that do that. There's some districts that say we'll pay for your license. There's some districts that say if you sub 10 days in the district, then we'll reimburse
And
that
that's
cost
how
of
I
your
would- I mean,
license.
if we're gonna do that, then I'd go out about it, like,
Yeah.
give us this many days and then we'll help to cover the cost of that.
I'll chime in just a little bit here because today Shelley was gone today, so I had to find a sub for Bill. This afternoon, we'll be on again tomorrow, and I went and Shelley and Kim, they have this shared document that has all this list, and just for example, I mean, let's just give you an understanding, there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 subs that are on that list that are unavailable for tomorrow for whatever reason. I mean, I'm just saying that they have already told the secretaries they're not available to call. We got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 staff members going at some point tomorrow. For some, not necessarily the whole day, but just, I'll give you Colin and Patrick, they need a sub for half a day. And they went in for junior high cross country. We have, we got a doctor's appointment in the morning, I mean, so we have a couple subs I'm doubling up on. I mean, it's, even though we have it, what it looks like a pretty long list, when half the list tells you they're not gonna be available. It just gotta get creative. We'll fill a couple hours tomorrow in-house with teachers during their planning periods.
When the teachers fill in during their planning period, do they get the sub rate for that hour?
It's $15. You pay $15 for that. That's negotiated.
I didn't know.
Yeah.
Top of their pay. I mean,
They
right.
still get
Yeah,
paid.
yeah, yeah,
They
yeah.
get an
Okay,
additional
okay,
$15 for
okay.
that hour.
Okay.
It's $15 an hour is what.
Okay.
If anybody else is going tomorrow, I'm not sure what we're doing. I'll be in one room. You'll be in another room.
We haven't reimbursed for licenses in the past, have we? Do you want to do that? I mean, is
I'd
that,
say, like Lori said, have them sub however many days, choose the amount of times that we could use them as a sub and then reimburse after that. Is that,
Whatever if you and Tom knew of anything that would help that problem, I'm for it. I guess if that's a problem that we have, whatever you guys know better than me. So what if you think there's ways that we could make it better?
10 days sound fair? Do you want to just pay for your license if you'll come be a sub? Or
I mean, that's fair. If you give us 10 days of subbing throughout the school year, we'll pay for your.
I think that
emergency
sounds more
sub
than
license.
fair.
it's a motion?
Yeah.
So is that a motion?
Does that
I mean,
sound
you
fair,
guys-
everybody? Susan,
Do
you
our
have a
administrators
It's not gonna
agree
hurt.
with that?
It's not gonna hurt. You're not talking a lot of money.
Okay.
You know, will
Probably more
it
headache for
entice-
her than it is money.
Yeah, tracking and stuff like that, but,
Well, make them track it. Give, like, they need to send documentation that this was the date that they
and
signed.
we-
You already do that then. Okay.
So we have subs that also substitute in Western Plains with Ross.
and I think that's part of our problem is the list that he listed off of that aren't available tomorrow or someplace
rotating.
else. Yeah,
Is our pay comparable to the places we're competing with for subs?
I think so. I think our biggest problem is we pay by the hour. And if you're here all day, we're comparable to a full day someplace else. Where we might struggle is if I need someone to come in for a couple hours, they're gonna take that full day someplace else versus coming in for a couple hours. So we try to make it work to where James Jordan's a prime example. He's coming in the morning for one teacher and then is gonna take over for Patrick for the rest of the day. So trying to work out some of those to where they're coming in for a full day. We have a couple of pairs that we have to get subs for because of the kids they work with. We pay them the teacher wage for that versus the para wage for that sub. It's the only way we can get someone to come in and do it. And in those situations where we can't cover a teacher, but we've got somebody already scheduled for that para position, we move them in that teaching position and that para's not covered. And so far this year, things have worked themselves out as far as that. It's hit right now, tomorrow, where all of a sudden we've got a teacher that won't be covered. Trying to figure out how to make all that work. Is gonna be interesting.
And you get the situation where those subs are like, I'll want sub list, but I won't sub for that duty or that duty or that duty. Call them at 6:30 in the morning. It's the luxury of getting a sub. That's the one thing that getting that sub is they. And that's. There are certain positions or grades that don't want to do.
That's a good point. As we think about that, if we're gonna do this, we need a motion that probably stipulates a certain number, a full days of subbing, we equate to your license fees being covered. So
Or do you
I
based
can't, I
off the
can't come
hours?
in 8 times
hours
for
a
1
year.
hour.
80
Or,
hours a year, really.
or, yeah, we could say this many hours.
Because like James, he'll come in for an hour
Mhm.
here or an hour there because he lives in town. But somebody that lives out of town doesn't want to come for an hour here.
So if they sub for the whole day, is that basically 8 hours?
Not much.
I move that if we have a substitute that meets 10 full days of substituting, that the school district pay their substitute fee.
Or do you want that in hours as in 80
I'll
hours?
just put
80
80
hours.
hours a year.
Second.
All in favor? All right, we squeezed out a motion out of that board subcommittee. How about anything else?
Looks like we're making progress.
Anything else on board subcommittee? All right, let's move on to unfinished business. 6.1 bond issue discussion.
You've got the sheets in front of you. I did add to the sheets, bleacher boards in the high school gym. I noticed that they're starting to delaminate. I fixed a set after one of the volleyball nights. That's something to think about. Softball, football field lights, we've talked about those several times and we forgot to put them on the list. We're gonna have to do something with the dust collector in the wood shop. If we don't build a new wood shop, we definitely need to buy a new dust collector system. Weight room floor, something needs to be done there, more permanent, make it easier to clean and safer because those rubber matches kind of slide around a little bit. And the other thing that was brought up to me by community members, staff, other board members was the possibility of creating an actual softball facility maybe back here versus on the current baseball field. So they've got their own separate facility as possibility. So those things were added. So a couple questions I would have for you. Is there anything else on that list that you thought of that you like on the list? Are there things on the list that absolutely not, we're not doing that? There's no reason to think about it. And then next steps, if you know some individuals that you want me to reach out to be part of a committee, if you want to give me those names, I'll reach out to them and I'll start setting up some town hall type meetings to further discuss this, and then I'll start a circuit of trying to hit up. I've got the Rotary presentation here in a couple weeks. I'll present information to them and different groups in town about conversations we're having and kind of go from there.
Well, I know you got all excited and you went with this and ran with it. And so like, I'd say almost all of this is off the list. Like, I mean, the locker rooms are, I mean, that was disgusting. The locker rooms are a must. And I
You
like.
said off the, you mean on the list?
No, I'm done.
It's the
There's
locker
too
rooms
much on this list,
are
right?
exactly the same as I
As you
remember
remember?
in
So there was-
1975.
There was moss growing on the floor down there in 1975.
Sure.
Why has that, does this community not have more of a sense of pride than that? I mean, that's what I want to know. I can't remember ever going into a locker room ever, anywhere ever, but that kind of stuff was on the floor. I mean, that's just a cleanliness issue. I mean, when I went down there into those locker rooms, I was embarrassed that our own kids have to use them, and embarrassed that we invite any other schools here to use them.
I would just say in 1975,
It's
those,
not 1975.
I know, but those locker rooms there were some really bad ones out there. I mean, it was like,
And I'm
It was
sure
like a
most
barn.
of those have been dealt with since then.
I don't know if they have or not.
But-
But
And then I liked the, in the elementary school, the changing the front office to the middle. Then if you did that, to me, if you did that and you made that the front entrance and fixed that, you could use the band room for an office. And then she would have her band room, music room all in one with her office attached right there. Because the office goes straight through.
Mhm.
So she doesn't really need both of the rooms.
They get used at the same time. There are times when we have band going
Oh,
on
really? See, I
and
didn't know that.
K3
Okay.
music going on.
Well, still, I like that, the office being there. And then if you did that, you could close off that other entrance and you could even build a classroom there. I don't think we have to extend the building for classrooms or expecting 100 new students to come. I think that's just too much. Yeah, so those are the things. Yeah, there were a lot of things on the list, I think, that as we went, even Jason said, all right, I'm not for that, so let's just move on. So, I mean, yeah, just my personal opinion, but
It is a long list, and a lot of it's, as I'm going through, I know we need to address this, we know we need to address this, and some of this stuff is small stuff that's not a large cost. But if we're looking at a bond issue, if we wrap it all into that, then it's not coming from someplace else then. And I mentioned several times during the tour too, that we gotta be real careful. You don't want to work something into a bond issue that doesn't have a 15-year type of life to it. So you don't want to work in some of the technology things because they're not going to have that life. Carpet's kind of on that. If you do carpet right, you can get 10, 15 years out of it. If you take care of it and do it right. If you don't take care of it, you're replacing that carpet before the bond issue's up, and you don't want to get into those type of situations. So.
I had a question on, HVAC elementary and high school. And wondering what all was included under that. We've done repairs on the boilers. Is when you have HVAC down there, is that apart from the boilers?
So if we're gonna talk elementary school, I think if we're gonna do a bond issue, you need to seriously look at what is there now, and most of it probably just needs to be torn out and new needs to be put back in. Because the problem you're gonna run into is whatever you do, if it's not new, you have the potential of it not lasting another 10 years. So if you go in and put a whole new system in, the idea is you get the 20 years of life out of it and not have to put money into it. Anything that you leave there that is in there now, you're gonna have to continually put money into it.
That's what I'm asking about, as far as we just repaired the boilers. We're getting ready to drop $500,000 on boilers and HVAC in the elementary. When you say HVAC elementary, does that mean redoing the whole thing, boiler and everything?
If we're gonna do a bond issue, that's what I would do.
Okay, that's,
And the same thing at the high school now, you've got the updated HVAC that we did with the science classrooms. There are some things that need to be added to the additional heat in the north classrooms would be the biggest thing there. At the high school, we need to redo the HVAC that is in the art room, wood shop, gym, auditorium, and band room. That part of the HVAC was not touched when we did the upgrades to the science classrooms. So, but that is the only part of that building that is on the boiler and the chiller system. So you would update those. Whether you go back with a boiler chiller system or go back with something different is a conversation I think we need to have with HVAC engineers and see what's out there and go through that process. But you're either going to continually band-aid what is there, or you're going to completely replace it.
Are there functioning water softeners with either one of the boilers right now?
No,
'Cause
both of
from
them
what-
are down.
What I have studied about boilers, if you're not putting soft water in, you can basically guarantee that they're not going to have any sort of a life at all whatsoever.
So part of the problem, technically, when you fill up the boiler, you should not be losing water. Especially at the high school, we're so full of holes. we're
Right, so
losing
was
water.
it
So
soft
every
water
time
that
we
was
put
put into
water
the
in-
boiler?
Huh?
I mean, have we put soft water into the
Well,
boiler?
when the water softener was working, yes. The high school, both buildings have water softeners. They do not currently work.
And
but
both
you're-
boilers have had leaks since then.
Yeah,
So you
but-
had to put additional water into both of them.
yes. I'm not
So neither
saying,
one
I'm
of
not
them
saying
have
that
soft
there's
water
not,
in
but there is unsoft water in both the
In
boiler
both of them.
systems. You're looking at.
So is that
I
part of
was-
what you mean about HVAC? I mean,
Yes,
is that,
yeah, so,
you're talking
yeah,
about
we
in
would come in water softener and everything. I mean, to replace water softener at the high school, I believe it's total $15,000. It's not the type of system you put into your house.
Right.
So when I talk HVAC in both buildings, it's water softeners. It's if we do boiler chiller or if we do something like what was proposed with rooftop units, something along those lines. If we don't do a boiler chiller system, we still need to do water softener just for the plumbing in both buildings, whether it's toilets or the faucets, any of that stuff, because the water in town is so horrible. If we're not running softeners, we're just eating those things up.
I think it would be helpful, at least to me, on the priority items on the 3 buildings. To list off the ones that are probably 20,000 or plus, because if some of these are under 20,000, I don't know that they're worth talking about, I guess. Not that they wouldn't be worth having on the project, but
Save
not
them
worth
for,
saying, do we really need this, I guess.
Okay.
So,
I visited with a gentleman about mini splits.
Mhm.
And he says that grade school, those classrooms on the east side, all of that could be done with mini splits and the office. And I don't know if you've ever been at the Nathan's shop, under the hood. That there's how he's cool in that shop is with a mini split. And it works pretty good for it.
Does he have one? Or
He
like
he just has one,
just one in the big
in,
shed?
yes, in the big shop.
I think, I mean, it's worth having that conversation, looking at that. I don't know what lifespan is on those. That would be my concern is, and I'll use the football press box as a prime example. I don't know how long that mini split's been in there, but we're probably gonna have to replace it.
What's the issue with it?
It's not, I think Cole had to put 80 pounds of Freon in it. It's not holding a charge. I mean, there's being exposed like it is, it's having problems. And I mean, it's at least 10 years old. So I mean, it's been up there for a while. Maybe that's the life. But that would be my concern is I'd like to know what general life is on a mini split system. If we can get 20 years out of it, yeah, it's probably definitely worth looking at. But if general life of a mini split is 5 years, that would be one concern I have. And then energy costs, because I know you're talking electrical. So, you know, if you could get a natural gas power mini split, your cost to run it's going to be a lot cheaper than run an electrical one. But I think that's the bigger conversation we need to have is
Sure.
what's all out there available, what's going to work, what's the cost to run, because that is where I failed on the science one with the HVAC that we put in that system was I apparently didn't ask the right questions and took for word that this will save you money. And it's not, because it's an electrical based system versus a natural gas based system. You know, if we had a natural gas based heat pumps to run that, our heat bill in the winter at the high school wouldn't be $10,000 a month. But I think we need to have, I mean, if we're truly looking at HVACs across the board, we need to see what all is out there and get some honest answers of cost, life, and the expense to install. So you want me to look at these and try to come up with an educated guess on what some of these things are going to cost?
I think that'll help an estimated cost. Because I think we're gonna be surprised if we looking at a $2 million bond, we start putting numbers at this, so I can see it easily going to 3 million.
Oh, I think you're close to 10 million if you do these.
Well, that's what I'm saying. I think if we kind of keep a cost in mind as we're going through this of where we're at.
I mean, I would venture to say if you're looking at locker rooms, kind of what we talked about, it wouldn't surprise me one bit with the cost of things right now if the locker room isn't $2 million.
Well, see, even, we could keep the same locker rooms, they just need to be like gutted and fixed. I mean,
It's just a concrete floor with lockers on it. It's not like anybody's living in there.
As soon as you touch it, then you better be compliant.
yeah, that's what I was wondering.
Yeah.
too.
And that runs into some problems too. We need to be very careful what we do on some of that. It's a mess.
We spend 2 million on locker rooms. Next thing that's gonna happen is we need a dome. You know how that snowballed last time.
I don't think
There-
anybody's
no.
gonna vote for a bond issue that spends $2 billion on locker rooms.
I don't.
No,
Nobody's gonna vote for that anyway.
no.
If that's what it is.
Nowhere in here is a dome and nowhere in here is a competition gym
Yeah, that kind of started that way last time too.
or swimming pool. And an indoor swimming pool.
Because I almost think we need to set an amount that everybody's thinks is a good amount that they can live with, and then see what fits it. I don't know if that's the right way to go about it, but
I think we gotta be conservative on it. I think we gotta get a dollar amount of kind of the high priority stuff. Not that the priority is not priority, but to me, there's higher priorities on the priority list and some of them are fairly low that are really not gonna cost that much money. But I'm kind of like Russell. If we kind of get the big ticket items and a estimated cost, kind of see where we set
because
and proceed from there.
at this last election, not very many bonds passed.
No.
Most of them failed. There's some big ones there. Even the one up at, was that the Cater County where the school burned?
Yeah.
I think that one failed.
I honestly feel a lot of these new bonds is like, let's shoot for $10 million and we'll fill in the blanks to try to get there. And I don't think that's how it should be done. I think we should go to, this is what is the necessity. Here's where we need to stay. You know, try to just add stuff to get to your target goals. Because to me, as a taxpayer and community members, your wish list is going to not appease them at all. It's the necessities of the issues that they're willing to help. But when you start going outside the critical necessities, I don't think you're going to garner any support.
I too wonder, like, if you're talking HVAC, if that's the big number one on our list, but it only has a 20-year life expectancy, they're gonna go, I ain't voting for that. And then you come back to me here in 20 years and tell me I gotta vote yes for it again. So if that's what the life expectancy of an HVAC system is, I think you better come up with some kind of plan that if they pass it this time, you've got the money to fix it next time. Because I don't think you're gonna get them to pass.
What do
like,
warranties run
people's
on
memories-
those?
Not that short.
A year is what the guy
I
said.
think this, the one that we were talking about.
He said a year.
Now, some of that equipment has 5 and 10-year motors and some of that stuff, but the overall project,
I mean, that's only getting a generation of kids, like kindergarten through senior graduated before you need to come back and redo it again. And I don't think you're gonna get people to bite on that.
Any other discussion on this? I think if we come back with a dollar amount, prioritized dollar amount for each building, we kind of got an idea where we're at.
I'll work on that. I'll also work on breaking it down to,
I think on the
Yeah.
priority list, like I'd like to see it like ranked, like what the
Yeah.
top priority is. Cause I
I'll-
don't think you're even gonna get through all those things on the priority list.
well, no, Jason Pavlin and I were having a conversation and I don't think you could touch all this with $10 million. Just the
The
cost
priority
of
list?
everything that's on
Oh,
these
everything.
lists. You're not, I mean, you take out an auxiliary gym, you take out a track, you take out turf on the football, field, those types, you take those things out, I still don't think you can come in under $10 million. I will work on putting this has to be touched. We have to spend some money on this elementary roof, HVAC, some of the plumbing issues. If we don't touch these things, our buildings will not be useful. We won't be able to utilize our buildings. We'll run into major issues. I'll work on that piece and see if I can't come up with some ideas there, and needle it down a little bit, and then try to see if I can't come up with some ideas on maybe some next steps or some things, and then the cost on what some of this is gonna be, or best guess estimate, as long as you don't hold me to it.
Yeah.
Because, yeah, if I, one of the things we also don't wanna do is I don't wanna start calling contractors and saying, hey, we wanna do this, and then make everybody mad because we don't do it.
Well, and I know if we get a cost estimate on this for next year, you're gonna
It's gonna
have
be different.
5%
Yeah.
anyway, just for where everything's going, if not 10%. Anybody else have any comments for the bond issue, or the descriptions and lists? If not, we're gonna move on. 7.1, review of preschool enrollment policy.
Just one little quick adjustment to the policy. We found out, we've always allowed mid-year 3-year-olds that are part of Arrowhead West to join preschool once they turn 3. It causes us some issues. We have found out that we do not have to do that. We are in a situation where we're holding open slots, and we've got people that are wanting slots because we know that there could be some potential kids coming in. So what I'm asking, what Kendra and Lisa and I are asking, is to add that one little statement that says students must be 3 years of age by August 31st of the year they're enrolling to qualify for an open slot. If
That
we,
sounds reasonable.
if we have a kid that isn't ready to go to school, go to kindergarten when they're 5, they can do another year of preschool. We already do that. So starting them halfway through a school year because they turn 3, it doesn't make a lot of sense. They're getting services elsewhere through other programs. That is the ask for that policy change.
Move to approve.
I'll second.
All in favor? 7.2, out of district busing, the Sacred Heart students.
I threw this out. I need to know what you want to do. So we are not required by state statute to provide busing to anyone that lives outside of our school district. We currently run routes outside of our school district. Even though we run those routes, we do not have to provide that transportation to parochial school. We do not get any funds for transporting those kids. If they live in our district, we do get transportation funds, but if they live outside of our district boundaries, we do not get any money for those kids. We also have no guarantee that those kids will come to us once they hit 6th grade. I believe right now there are 8 students that go to Sacred Heart that live outside of 303's boundaries. Of those, 5 have requested transportation from us. One, I believe, lives in McCracken, and we will not take a bus to McCracken. We could pick them up at Horsham Shed or something like that if they wanted to meet us there, but by the time you drive from there to McCracken, you might as well just drive all the way to town. There is one that lives in Bazine, and then there's a family that lives in Ransom. My question to you is basically one of 3 possible answers. Yes, we do it, just pick them up and not worry about it. Yes, but we're going to charge for it, or no, we're just not going to do it. I will tell you, Sacred Heart will not pay the fees, so we would be sending a bill to parents. And if we decide to charge, what is a fair fee to do so?
How close of the routes do we have to,
Other than the one in McCracken, we probably drive by their house. It's not going out of the way to do so.
We're not adding extra miles, right?
Not-
And we have the seating.
The Utica route may be an issue.
On seating,
Yeah, I think she'll be okay, but it'll be tight if every single person on her route rides. But I don't think we've ever had a day where everybody rides. I think there's enough seats.
Well, I think if we have a bus that goes right by, I might to pick them up. That's just my opinion. I think that's how we've done it in the past.
We've not picked up out of district Sacred Heart kids.
Would it be no, apart from the McCracken kid, would it be no more mileage? And if we have the seating, I would say let's pick them up and ask whatever a modest fee would be.
I wouldn't do it for free. And I wouldn't deviate off of our route to do it.
Do we, and I guess the caveat to that, we'd have to deliver them to Sacred Heart too, wouldn't we? Would that
So I
be-
mean, that does change the route.
Sure.
I mean, technically, we could drop them off here and make Sacred Heart come over again. They're not going to do that. So then that throws the whole thing out. So if we're doing it.
Are they not running any type of bus or
No.
nothing?
No. And that's what really put this in a bind. So I'll back up just a little bit. We have not transported Sacred Heart kids that live outside of our district. The company we contracted with last year to Bazine did. It's not our bus. We have no control over who she picks up and doesn't pick up. We pay her to pick up our kids. Sacred Heart has always run a route from Utica. They stopped doing that this year. That is where this is coming from, is more that direction. And then the fact that we're no longer contracting to Bazine because of rule changes in transportation, it's our bus that's going to Bazine now.
So the Sacred Heart bus that went to Utica, did they pick up any of our kids?
Not for the 7 years. I think we started our own route up to Utica 7 or 8 years ago.
They used to pick them up, I think we paid about
Paid a lot.
15, 16,000 a year,
Mhm.
from what I remember.
It was between, I think when I got here, it was $100 a day, then it went up to 150, and then we got into conversation, they wanted $200 for the Bazine route, and we said no. And then they stopped busing our kids because we also wanted them to follow transportation laws.
So are the parents bringing the kids down?
As far as I know.
We should charge them a modest fee.
What would you suggest charging them?
$25 a month, $50 a month.
I don't know. Most of them you said we drive right by. So to me, it's the time from getting in town, drop off at Sacred Heart and back to here, whatever that little time is, if we drive by.
It takes time to stop though, and that's our kids on the bus that much longer.
True. 2
And for those
minutes.
of you that don't have kids that have to get on the bus at 6:50 in the morning, that doesn't seem like a big deal, but if your kids have to get on the bus at 6:50 in the morning, and then that's gonna add another 5 minutes and another 5 minutes and another 5 minutes, whenever you have a kindergarten, it's a pretty big deal.
You know, do any of them grade school kids that go to Sacred Heart that ride a bus, are there any high school or older kids that come here from those families?
The families we're talking about, no, they're all elementary age kids. I would say the family from Ransom, I couldn't guarantee you that their kids would come to school here. I mean, it's probably a 50-50 shot of where they go to school once they hit 6th grade. The one in Bazine, I'm guessing as long as things go well, they'll want to come here.
So since school started, the parents have been transporting.
Yes. Unless I have a bus driver that is not following my directive, I'm not aware that they are.
So they're just Ransom. There's nothing in the Utica, or is there one in Utica too?
Right now, there's a family in Ransom, there's a family in Bazine, and a family in McCracken that's requesting
Okay,
transportation.
Well, I think pick up the Bazine and Ransom with a modest fee, and the one from McCracken just figure out along the route.
But it needs to be a stop we're already making, not add an extra stop to it, because that just adds time for our kids.
They don't use it all the time, but we do have a family that uses that portion shed, right? They're north of Albers. That would be, well, Yes,
Well, it'd be close.
they could bring them into Ransom too.
Yeah, well, from McCracken,
Mhm.
they just keep on the highway. I mean, they're a heck of a lot closer to Bazine.
Yeah, I guess they could come south to Bazine too, come into Bazine and
Yeah.
Mhm.
That's a lot better road.
So as far as doing this, we would add no more time or stops for our bus routes. Is that the
it
idea?
would be possible to do that, yes.
Other than after,
You'll
they
add
might have to be a
You would
little
add-
earlier just so they can get the kids to Sacred Heart on
And
time.
is that $25 or, I'm just using that now, is that per kid or per family? Because you have one family with 3 and they get it for 25 and others got 1 gets it for 25. There's somebody that's gonna think that's not fair.
Probably needs to be a per child fee. You know, you could,
Where do we go to school? About 7 months,
9.
9?
um, the Utica route could drop our kids off and then go over to Sacred Heart. So it doesn't add time for our kids necessarily.
And then also
It
go have
would,
to
it
pick them
would, it
up.
would add, well, it'd say. on
What's
the
their
way
time
home,
at school compared to ours?
Because you have to pick them up and take them home.
Yeah,
I
it's
think
gonna
we
mean our kids are
traditionally
on
have
the
picked
bus
our
longer.
kids up and then gone and picked up
And if
their
your kid's
kids.
already on the
Yeah.
bus for
So
an
it
hour
would
and a half,
add, it would add
it
some time
pisses you off.
Yeah,
on
I
the way
know,
home.
I know.
for them.
I was like, when you have a second grader that gets on the bus at 6:45 in the morning and gets home at 4:30, 4:45 in the afternoon, that is a long stinking day. You might think 5 minutes doesn't add a lot to it, but at that age, 5 minutes makes a difference.
And if at the end of the day, they have to pick up the kids here and then go over to Sacred Heart to pick up those kids.
Yeah,
and
it takes time.
It's like, wow.
There's a lot of times our bus probably doesn't leave town till close to 4 o'clock by the time. And school gets out at 3:30.
And the south route, we don't have a choice because those kids live
Right.
in our district. So we are
Right,
required
our
by law to
bus, like the bus
transport.
my girls ride is already hauling our kids. But it does, I mean, it adds
Can we-
a significant
Well,
amount to the time.
So
they're on the
to
bus.
alleviate that, can you pick up Sacred Heart first and drop them off last?
They won't be done.
Oh, because their
Okay.
school times don't
Our
matter.
kids will be waiting, because if you go down there,
So
you're waiting on them.
this does
at
not
Sacred
affect
Heart,
the south
you're waiting
route,
on
per se.
them.
Correct.
Our school days are the same.
Is the south route one of the longest
It
ones
doesn't
then,
mean that they get down.
as far as time wise?
No, I would
It's a
guess the
Utica.
Utica route is just because it's so far out there.
And that's what I mean, you add a little bit of time to that Utica route that's already really long. You're talking for young kids, a really, really long day.
Especially for the kid you pick up in Utica first.
Mhm.
I don't have a problem doing it for a small fee. That small fee, I'm thinking 15, 20 bucks a month per kid.
I would like it kept track of and reported back to us how much if it adds on any
How much time?
time to our kids' time on the bus. I would like to know that. So we, if we,
I
I
rode the
mean,
school
because I
bus. I
assume
rode the
we'll
bus.
evaluate this on a
Sometimes
yearly basis, because it's
Give
gonna
me
be
a lot of
different
time to
kids.
get my car.
So that way, if we find out that it's adding a lot of time for our
Read a book.
kids. we can put it in.
Learned a lot of things.
You're,
with
you're
us,
setting a
But
policy,
that
so
wasn't
you can
that.
change
Lot
that
of jokes.
policy at any time. If we decide that it doesn't work or adds too much time or.
Lori, did I hear you
Paying.
correct? You said that your kids are at a bus with Sacred Heart students already?
Because they're in
In
district.
Okay, I get it. I understand that. So to me, we're punishing some kids because they're out of district going there. So either we do it to all of them,
Yeah, but it's a lot
especially
of-
if we drive right by it. And I know your point about stopping for 2 minutes, but if it was one of another kid that was in our district that was along that same route, we still would have no say so on stopping for 3 minutes here and there.
So the way the law works is we are not required to
Right.
change our bus route, but we are required to provide them transportation.
Right.
We also get funding for those kids. So
So
if they live in our district, we do get state funding to transport that child.
And we change our bus.
and you don't think Sacred Heart would say, we'll help with this?
100%, I've been told they will
Yeah,
not. That
it's only
came
been
directly from
told.
the superintendent in Dodge City. They will not fund that.
Sometimes I wish it was a little easier to work with.
So why should we make it easy for them if they don't want to?
Because we
be on their
drive
end
right
of
by
it?
it.
And that sounds simple if you don't have little kids on that bus, Jason.
You're right, I don't. I
So
don't.
it sounds simple to you,
But you're right. If I don't have little kids, but that's why my comment was, if it was a kid that was in district, we'd still be stopping, then there wouldn't be an issue. But since they're out of district, now that 5 minutes is an issue, is what I'm saying.
no, it's an issue for me too. I don't like it, but there's nothing I can do about it.
I would make a motion
I'm
that we
guessing-
pick up the out-of-district busing kids for Sacred Heart and charge $25 per student through the end of this semester, and we revisit it at the end of this semester.
25 total or 25 per month?
25 per student,
Per student per month.
per student per month, excuse me, yes.
And again, this is gonna be on our normal route, normal pickups in towns or whatever, not a new stop for anybody.
We can do that.
Other than the only extra is gonna be going to Sacred Heart.
Mhm.
And then we'd have to coordinate with the McCracken family.
Well,
They
they're
wanna
on their
ride.
own.
Why would we
I'm
do
just doing the North
Yeah.
District. My motion's just for the North.
Not for Bazine. There's one at Bazine too.
We have one kid that lives in Bazine.
And we're
I
sending the
will
bus
amend
there.
my motion to include the Utica route and Bazine.
All second.
All in favor? All opposed? 7.3 playground update.
Okay, can I just turn this over to you, Judy?
Oh, sure.
So Judy and I got to talking, and I've heard about this, but didn't know a whole lot about it. But Judy brought it up, and I threw it out to the kids and the teachers, and they said, "Oh yeah, that would be awesome." So I got to looking at it. I don't want to do it unless we do it right. So I'd like to pour concrete pad. I'd like to get the good stuff. And so this is the best stuff. This is what Judy found. And from everything I found, this is the best quality of equipment and everything. I would go with their composite sideboards versus their buying lumber and stuff and do it right. We're looking at, by the time everything's said and done, somewhere between $8,000 and $9,000. At one point in time, as a board, we discussed with the carnival that the elementary put on, that they would help, the board would help fund some additions to the elementary playground. I feel comfortable taking between $3,000 and $3,500 out of the carnival funds and applying towards this project if the board will supply the $5,000 to $6,000.
So now on this estimate, you have 4,500, but you said 9,000. So is that 4,000 for the
The
concrete?
concrete, I've asked Adam Walker, and he said somewhere between $4,000 and $4,500. And I also asked the Morgan Brothers, and the price is about the same, so between $4,000 and $4,500 for the concrete.
So if we choose not to do the concrete and put this on the grass, we would reduce that
Correct.
cost, right?
My concern with doing that is you put it on the grass, then you've got to mow weeding inside, you've got stickers inside. I mean, there's mats you can put down, but you know, how long those mats stay and weeds growing up in between and those type of things. I'm looking
Right.
more as a complete
Permanent.
project, doing it this way and then it's done right and we don't have the problems of you know, having to figure out how to keep it clean up.
So what would you put on the inside of it? I guess I'm not finding it.
It's
The
cement.
concrete
Sits on concrete.
and
It's-
then what?
That's it.
It's a concrete.
So
It's a concrete base and then you have the walls.
Yep.
And then the kids get in that pit and then they play this game. Do you know the rules, Rebecca? Do you
It's a ball
remember?
that bounces, right?
oh,
Yeah,
this is
and
a
it
game
bounces.
for that
Yes.
one?
Yeah.
Oh, I thought it was just like a
No, no,
bull
no,
ring.
no, no, no.
They just wrestle.
Yeah, scraped up knees all the time.
Okay.
See, Rebecca's just gonna put her class inside and say, have that, right? No, so it's a game and
It's
then
like
the
four
ball.
square.
Yeah, it's like
think of
four
it
square,
Okay.
like four
but-
square.
We could use the fencing from softball put around it and have an octagon.
So, and the ball can bounce off those walls and, I mean, it's,
I got it. Okay.
the kids that have played it at camps or whatever, love it. And Gaga ball is a big, kind of a big deal. I've never played it myself, but all
See,
these kids love
Be
it.
similar like Foursquare, except with the whatever unlimited
Yeah,
number of
yep.
kids, depending how many you
Yeah,
get in
because you've
there.
got lots of kids in
Gotcha.
there.
Okay.
It's a combination of Foursquare and tag or
Yep.
dodgeball, and if you get hit below the waist, you're out. If you get hit anywhere else, you stay in, and you basically, the ball just bounces and you hit it and you try to
Yeah.
hit somebody below the waist with the ball, and
And one of these things would cost $9,000.
That's
Half's
full.
concrete.
That's what.
if we're doing it correctly and doing
The
good
concrete
quality and
base.
everything, between concrete and this, there are these systems out there that we could buy for $1,500, and it's probably gonna last a year and a half before it completely
Well,
destroys.
yeah, I mean, if you're gonna
This-
do it
this
right.
is-
But
This is a high quality, the boards on this picture are a composite board.
Kind of blows my mind, 1,000 plus shipping here.
I know, did you see that?
It's heavy. I mean,
Where-
I would imagine that the sideboards alone are probably a
Where's it
good
coming from? You know,
$50
that'd
or 50 pounds a piece. I mean, you're probably shipping 1,000 pounds worth of equipment.
be- Where's it coming?
See, what's the diameter of that
Um, What's it called?
thing? No, how
How big
wide
is
it
it?
was.
The
Is there
diameter
is there somebody go
is,
pick it up in Wichita?
Each
How
wall,
wide
is
each
this
wall
table?
is 2 by
Illinois.
10 by 8.
It's
So each-
Like about
each
out in the middle
side
of,
is
middle
10.
of here.
10 foot on each
So-
wall.
So if we put this
Saying-
two of
30
these
foot
tables together,
or-
it'd be that size?
I asked them, or I told them we'd be looking at a 25 by 25 concrete pad. So, I mean, it's a decent size. If you, probably a little bit bigger if this was a full circle.
It'd be a little bigger than that.
Yeah,
The octagon or the pad?
The whole, the octagon, yeah.
Oh, okay.
because the walls there, like you have the 24 pieces, the sides, and it's 2 by 10 by 8. So each one of those is 10. And then you have 8 that go around, right? Is that right?
Okay.
Because you have 8 walls. It's an octagon.
Oh, Bill, was there Kate dressing there?
Yeah.
Need lights. Nighttime event. Pay per view. And where would you put it at, you said?
What I'd like to do is out here where we've got our rock kickball court, is put there, that way we don't have the rock kickball court anymore, and then they can play kickball down here on this backstop where there's good grass.
So that goes in the east of the old rock building or
So
over
it
here?
would be straight west of the preschool building.
Okay.
Will Patrick utilize it for PE?
Yes. In fact, his email response to me was very lengthy about why we needed to go about that.
I still help teach the kids the proper way to play.
Yeah. The only thing, I mean, I'm for it, because I think I just think it's a good idea. But why orange on the top? Why did you pick that?
I didn't. He sent me a quote. We,
Okay,
we would do,
I was thinking
we
we
would-
do blue for you.
we would do something like this.
Yeah, okay, because that's what I thought, the blue
Yeah.
brackets and then the blue top, and when I saw orange, I thought, well, that's UVA colors, but that's not.
We did it just for you.
Yeah, thank you.
No, I didn't say what school colors or anything, just what's your
Okay.
price? So it would look something similar to that right there.
And then we would do the ADA doorway, because that was
Yes.
something I wasn't thinking about,
Yep.
but we would need to do that.
Yep.
Okay.
I move to approve.
With concrete pad.
Yes.
Second.
All in favor? All opposed. 7.4, Elevate K-12 computer science contract.
I need to explain 7.5 as I explained 7.4, just so you're aware of that. So we talked about Elevate K-12 computer science prior to the school year starting. We decided it was too expensive. I wrote a grant hoping that we get notified before the school year started, and the grant would cover the cost of that K-12 computer science class. Got notification late last week that we were awarded the grant that I applied for, that I'll talk about in 7.5. There's actually two separate grants for the Patterson family. One of them is for $26,000. The other one is for $48,700. As part of the $48,700 grant, we have $18,000 to pay for the computer science virtual class. The problem is, we've already started school. Talking to Tom, we could do the 18,000, start the class. We currently have 4 kids.
4 kids total, two in 2 different hours, because of the format they're doing it, they didn't have to do it the same class period. So we have 2 6th period and 2 7th period.
So the thought would then be, instead of starting it right now, K-12 can run a semester computer science class and offer it to the 2 hours we currently offer it, and would start it in January. The caveat to that is it's $2,500 more than the $18,000 grant. So what I'm asking for permission for you guys is, A, we need to approve 7.5 for those 2 nice big grants we got. But then approve the K-12 computer science contract for 2 classes starting January 1. 18,000 of that 20,580 would be covered by the grant, and then we would cover the other 2,580 to offer that computer science class. And I'm guessing with the way the algebra class went last year, that we may have more kids enroll if they knew that that's what they'd be able to do. Having a live teacher teach computer science those 2 hours, and having it available 2 hours opens it up to more kids too.
Well, you mentioned a larger number that we got a grant for. Is there money above and beyond here?
So the 26,000 is specifically set aside for professional development. And I wrote it to help pay for that rigor relevant student engagement, professional development that we've had, to help pay for the motivational speaker we had at the beginning of the year, and then also pay for some CTE training that Brent's going to help us better utilize the plasma cam, metal CNC machine. Okay. Then the 48,700 is all what is called CTE upgrades. The grant was written to repair, replace, and fix the sprinkler system in the greenhouse, purchase tools, welders, storage chests, tool chests, and do electrical work in the BOAG building, and then 18 of that, and then 18 of it. So basically 40,000 or 30,000 is BOAG building and greenhouse, and then 18,000 is computer science. The way the grant is written, no, we could not necessarily, we couldn't pull
Yeah, I was
money
just
into
wondering if
that.
we had other
Now,
ideas
that-
with the rest of it.
that, yeah, no, and I can show you the grant itself to show you how things are done. And I think we're actually gonna end up being able to buy quite a more tools than I actually applied for, because we'll be able to get them cheaper than what the price on the internet was. So it's gonna end up being a really cool situation. We're gonna be able to do some good things in the greenhouse and the BOAG building.
Does that take care of water softener for the greenhouse?
Yes. Water softener and sprinkler system. So it's done right.
We know what 2 periods we're looking at? As far as first thing in the day, middle of the day, or end of the day, or?
What hours is the computer science class
Right
now?
now, we're 6th and 7th period. So we would
After lunch.
just have to decide on a class period, and hopefully for other kids that might want to come in a semester.
What we're talking about now is offering 2 classes at semester.
Just to do it 2 different, okay,
Yeah.
complete.
Yeah, so you have 6th and 7th hour.
Okay, we'll just break it that way and allow more flexibility for other kids to come in during those periods.
And is this a beginning class? So it's 9 through 12? Or,
It's
Okay.
computer, it's a beginning level computer.
okay, so
science.
it's not only for the seniors or only for, okay.
Do you need to let kids know that the opportunity may not be available next year? So if they want computer classes, they should seize this opportunity if they can.
Yeah, we'll advertise it. The guy, even though it's basically paid for through a grant, it's a lot of money. We want to make sure the kids are aware that it's available and there's a lot of jobs out there in that field that we should be helping our kids get into.
I move to approve the K-12 computer science contract for the 2 hours for the second semester.
Second?
All in favor? 7.5 Patterson Family Foundation grant approval.
Kind of explained it already. There's two grants, 26,000 and 48,700.
I move to approve taking all the money we can.
Second.
All in favor? 7.6 executive session for students,
10 minutes.
10 minutes.
So move.
Second, all in favor?
You play football Friday?
It was rough in the stands.
Susie.
Susie, like the access to the gym and weight room, is that still like, you have to be 25? And you just have to get it passed by the board? I know they talk about the gym, but then it's also. So there's another. If it was just. Especially when they're keep putting this forward, keep getting rain. They just let me go. Well, no. They just. Hospital does that too. We have a lot of houses. Yeah, so we're not close to it. Yeah. Yeah, how's that? Not in a 20. How many more grants could we get? And then you can't, let's provide it because it's a community member. We can see it. Then yeah, I'm gonna look for it 'cause we're not gonna- We can't hardly get more people to staff ours. We're still looking for help. Like how many kids are in the hospital now? Or do you know? I don't know the exact number. Oh, yeah, I do. 23. So we have two apartments. Yeah. But I know the other apartments are all full. We have one other apartment that could potentially add to. They're not all connected. Yeah. And it's like clear on the other side. So and I know most maybe 7 eventually. But we're still looking for more staff. We would get 2 more full-time people. Just for those kids, because we have so many babies. So maybe. Everybody has babies. Yes. So we did it for the purpose. Yeah, household staff have vacation. You think it'd be beneficial for the school. We're probably making more money off the daycare than we could, right? Like they do that. We get some much grant money. Trails. The big chunk of it. Yeah, I have a little apartment thing. It's like oh, I saw the I don't. Yeah, she's always had it like 1 day a week and then nobody else can use it. She just needs to use one of like the different rooms. Then that would be two more problems. It would be nice if she could be able to set up like in the beginning clinic. This one she's like, I think. I don't know if you can do that. Mhm. Just the district, like just. What else do you guys use this building for? This building? Mhm. It's just like for office, yeah.
Our office.
Yeah.
The meeting and stuff over here too, though. Like the DLT meets over here anytime there's, well, not any, a lot of the trainings they do.
Trainings are here.
Our office away.
Nice building.
But we do, I mean, we use it quite a bit. The crisis team meets over here.
Usually really little, like,
If you want.
this is like the biggest like conference room.
Where, yeah, this is the biggest one. Well, besides the library, but
Yeah.
we do a lot of the a lot of the trainings that come in.
That's true. And you kind of need a separate space for us. School, but you don't need to go that tour. There's all those big rooms in it. Like those rooms down in the grade school, like those 3 rooms.
I mean, a long time ago, it was the keys on it. I think that's what.
Okay, we're done with that one, correct? Mr.
Yes.
Reinhardt. Okay, 7.7, executive session for personnel.
Let's go 15.
Second, all in favor?
Bye. There's a room back there. Do they use that? That's sort of like, I guess that's where like my speech class or whatever it was. You could open it up to the public next month, but.
there's space to do. Side with it too.
And I think we can. look at that.
We just, I mean, know that.
It's getting a lot better. The MCL is one thing that fixes itself.
Okay, we're gonna motor on. 7, what is that?
7.7A.
Yep, 7.7 alpha. Resignation of Kim Horning.
So moved.
Second,
All in favor? 7, A, B, and C. Hiring of Kim Borger, Stephanie Rebel, and Kent Reiner.
So move, add D to that. It's-
Oh, yeah,
I bet it won't have D there too.
There's a D.
Jonathan Emig is a son.
Oh,
What's in the current one?
So who? Jonathan Emig.
Mr.
yeah,
Ryan.
it's up there.
It's up there, yeah.
Oh, okay. We have a motion for that one.
A through D.
Yep,
I did.
I think you did.
I'll second.
All in favor? 7.8, approved college credit hours of Jeff Rehnquist.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor? 7.9, approved donations, Andrew and Bethany Campfield for $500, BRCs to the FFA for $250, and Hayes Tees to the high school track / cross country.
So move.
Second.
All in favor? 7.10, softball cooperative agreement.
What you see in your packet, your folder, what you got up there in the projector is basically what I drafted. Visited with the principal at Hodgman County, Jason Fawcett. They're talking about it tonight. They have their meeting also tonight. This is kind of what I basically put up there. The Activity Association puts out, I don't know, what is it, 25 questions that they perceive as areas that need to be addressed in any type of cooperative agreement. And what you see in italic is kind of how I had drafted that kind of with our conversation, but just quick, talking to Jason after their board meeting last month, he had mentioned this first year about, it's your program, we would be just a part of your program. And pretty much agree to come up here and not split practices or anything like that. But just to quickly go through that, obviously, like I say, they just talk about areas that should be resolved. If you have a program, students from another school going to replace students from your community as a question. Yes, that possibility, we have to recognize that would be possible. There'll be girls from Hodgman County replacing girls from that city on a starting lineup. Vice versa, it goes both ways. B is probably maybe the biggest one that we kind of lined out there, put in this draft. Who pay for the cost of equipment and travel. All players will be issued proper playing equipment supplied by USD 303 in this city. And I'm basically talking uniform on that. Bats and balls will be supplied by a combination of both schools. We would, share that cost. All players are responsible for their own gloves and their own practice pants. That's nothing new than what we require of our own girls right now anyway. All players will ride the bus to and from games provided by transportation supplied by USD 303 and USD 227 in accordance with the local board policy. And this is kind of what worked out a deal. Any trip going south in this city, we will use our bus, stop in Jetmore, pick up, and of course drop off on the return trip. Players from Hodgman County continue on to the destination. Any trip north of Jetmore, the Hodgman County bus will stop in this city. And I when we kind of talked on the phone, defined, let's say we're going to Ellenwood, they would come north here before we head east to Ellenwood. So it'd be their bus. We're going to Ellis, it's gonna be their bus. We're going to Sublette to play Haskell County, it's gonna be our bus. You know, so we kind of worked that out, that for transportation wise on games, it's kind of how we drafted that out. Draft. Osmond County is gonna supply transportation to and from practices and games at Nest City, since we kind of agreed that will be there. Gate receipts be distributed. Does not apply because we do not change admission to our home contest. Responsible for cost of travel to and from practice. Again, that's going to be Hodgson County's responsibility since it's going to be here at Nest City. Where will practices be held? They're going to be held here at Nest City. That's kind of what I scripted on most days when school's in session. Practice will begin at 4:30, end by 6:30. All athletes from both schools are expected to be draft ready for next practice this time. On other days when school may not be in regular session, coaching staff will determine the practice time. And I realize that needs to probably have a little bit of leeway, a little bit of stuff that we just kind of drew it up that way to give them something to visualize at least. Contests will be played, all home contests will be held in Nest City. School's identity, which school's identity we use, mascot colors, etc. Team will be known as the Nest City Hodgman County Eagles, will wear the Nest City uniform, blue, white flag. Our local eligibility rules, lettering guidelines, the same at both schools. They don't have any lettering guidelines yet, so we'll continue to use our own eligibility requirements. Each principal is going to certify on a weekly basis which students are eligible. Lettering guidelines will be used according to the handbook of our USD 303 handbook. For players, so for player to letter, we'll follow our guidelines there. Section on cheerleaders, cheerleaders do not cheer for softball, activity passes and stuff, and that doesn't apply. Coaches be employed and paid. This is the way I've written it up right now. Could be, I guess we can change this, or if you want to look at that. Nest City will hire and will pay 2 coaches, 1 head, 1 assistant. Hodgson will hire, will pay 1 coach and assistant. And all will need to meet CASHA certifications. Insurance, each school is responsible for the catastrophic insurance premium for their athletes. B or M doesn't apply because it's just girls softball. It's not the same. Basically, this means girls softball. If we had boys baseball, if we did the same thing with baseball, then that may be assigned to different substates or whatnot. Of course, that's not going to apply here for this instance. Expenses for facilities, lighting, heating, showers, towels, laundry, including maintenance of practice and playing facilities. Since we'll be using our facility, it's going to be our responsibility. Expenses for scouting, coaching meetings, etc. Who's responsible? Expenses for scouting, if needed, would be a shared responsibility of both Nest City and Hodgman County. Contracts with other schools and officials, etc. We're going to use our schedule, so we'll set with our contracts that we already have out there. Nest City will also secure all event workers and officials for home contests. And hire the umpires. I'm sure, and we had that talk. I didn't put it in there. Share the cost of what an umpire costs. I mean, they would go 10 home games. You know, they will more than they said pay their share for that kind of stuff. I know I didn't put it in that draft like that. Responsibility, that's, I already said that. Resolution of disputes, administration of schools will meet, discuss any matters or problems, work mutually to settle them for any matter not identified in this agreement. Of course, both schools must submit eligibility forms. That's nothing new. We have to put our athletes indication database that are eligible. More Hodgman County will do the same there for that. That's kind of what the draft agreement is. They're looking at it. I talked to Mr. Fawcett this morning. He actually called me about this. He said, Tom, I wouldn't be surprised if my board will approve this as you wrote it tonight. But I don't know. I mean, I'm not saying that we need to approve it as written tonight. I guess I'd like to kind of make sure he doesn't come back tomorrow and say, well, wait, they did have this question. Is there something we can change this or that or anything like that? We'll talk about it. But as you guys noticed something on there that you think needs to be addressed, I think it's going to be a very workable agreement between 2 schools for us to provide a softball program. Most schools, I mean, unless they have a change of mind at their board meeting tonight, I don't. Like I said, he told me, he's like, he had sent it out. And said what I heard, I think he said, I wouldn't be surprised if they approve it tonight. He said, just discuss it.
So we need to wait more or less to make sure they don't have issues with it.
I do, I don't want to put our official stamp on it yet.
Did he indicate how many
Until January
girls?
1st to Put
Yeah.
the agreement to. put
Right.
Did he indicate how many girls were interested?
During his enrollment process, when we kind of had our real good in-depth talk about that, he had 7 or 8 girls. In fact, I know he had a senior girl who came in and because she had worked, they had their board meeting like the day before they had their enrollment. And I know he had a senior girl that was very excited about the possibility. That at the initial meeting, it sounded like it was 5-2, with 5 very much in favor, 2 was just I don't think they're against it. I don't think they were for it. But
I think you went to a lot of work, Tom, and I think it's good. I do not support a cooperative agreement of any kind with any school anymore. Done. If the kids want to come to school here and participate in what we have, fine, but I'm not signing off on any more cooperative agreements.
just
just-
eligibility wise, so if we did not do a cooperative agreement, even if say those 7 girls decided to transfer to this city to play softball, they could not play softball for 1 year because of transfer rules. Changing high schools for an activity program, and that is a transfer against the transfer. So that's why there's a cooperative agreement.
I understand.
I will say this, Jason and I, Mr. Fawcett, sorry, I call it Mr. Fawcett. We talked numbers. I tell you, our high school numbers, told you we're down 8 from last year. Count day, they're down 10. I don't see any way we will not bump up to 3A, which I think is a huge benefit for a postseason. Because I was expecting our combination numbers to push us past that point, to have to play a 3A postseason schedule in softball.
So you think we'll stay 2A?
72, and I think their number was 72, ours is 86.
So you think we'll stay 2A?
I think we'll stay in that 2-1A division. So I don't think it would change. Yeah, I actually be one of the bigger 2-1A schools instead of one of the smaller. Playing softball.
I think a couple of things that I would have a concern with is, A, we need to make sure that shared cost of umpires is in the contract. And the other thing, and I believe we've done this with every time we've done this, whether it was Sacred Heart or Ransom or whatever, I think we've had the kids pay our activity fees, their equipment fees.
Oh,
So we might, and I don't think it's much, it's $15. But that might be something else we need to consider, or you guys need to consider. 'Cause I think we've done that in the past.
I did not even think about our equipment fee for activities.
This is easy because everything's going our way, but if they got more
Now.
kids wanting to play softball than we do next year, they'll be saying, hey, you come down here and practice, and I wouldn't be for that.
And I will anticipate that to happen. This
I
first
would.
year, I think they want to, this gives them a chance to taste it. If they like the taste of it. Yeah. That could be a very real thing.
What's the number of girls that we think that we'll have out?
We had started the season, I believe, last year at 10. We had, I think the one quit, one season injury, and then one injury that caused us to have to stop
Cancel.
the season at that point. Out of those 10, one was a senior. I don't know if any of these 12 freshmen will play softball. Going for girls.
So that leaves us at about
I don't know if any, so I'm saying we may, if everybody goes out that was out last year, 8 or 9. I mean, it's hard to say until first day of practice gets here, who will necessarily be there. I would say 8 or 9. I mean, there may be a handful of our girls that will come back out that was out 2 years prior, that didn't go out last year, but you know, it's not addressed on here because it's in our policy book, dual participation. And I talked to Mr. Fawcett about that. I said, you know, obviously that would be a decision that you as Hodgman County would have to come up and make with. And would you allow your girls to dual participate? And then we'd have to figure out a way to, you know, acceptable with the coaches, like, hey, if they're only in practice 2 days a week, because they're gonna practice track 2 days a week or whatnot, or, you know, 3 days a week this week, or however, that'd be something. That's something I don't think you can put necessarily in the cooperative agreement, though, because we can't control their policy. I mean, they would have to develop policy. I don't know if they have to policy. We do, I know we do.
Well, okay, we'll wait till last month to get that agreement after they approve theirs, I'm guessing. 7.11, approve patron access to the gyms and weight room to Erica Corner.
So moved. Second.
All in favor?
Move to adjourn.
Second.
All in favor?